Well, good day, everyone. I know some people might be still joining us as they make their way from other either other meetings that they're in here at the start of the hour, but just want to go ahead and get things started. In case anybody misses anything, this will be recorded, so I know we're trying to find good times that work for everybody, but you'll have an opportunity to catch back up through the recording to catch up on what has taken place today. I want to thank everybody for coming for our, kind of student perspectives on what has made how others have found to help them be successful in online classes. We'll get right into a panel here shortly. I'll let each of our panelists introduce themselves. Then there'll be time for Q&A. And then depending on the size of everybody attending today, we'll do a breakout group. So everybody has opportunities to maybe talk amongst themselves in smaller groups and meet some other students in different programs, or maybe even see some of their other peers in their current program. Then I'll bring everybody back just for a quick debrief, thanks in closing, and let everybody know about other upcoming dates and events that are going on. So with all of that said, I just want to thank Aaron, Joe, and Aaron for joining us here this morning. Aaron Gayheimer, would you introduce yourself first?
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Gayheimer, and I am a third year EDD student in the College of Education, particularly in Global Studies in Education. And as I said, I'm in my third year at Illinois, really enjoying the experience as an online student. And I am physically based in Dayton, Ohio, so just maybe 4 or 5 hours away from Urbana-Champaign. And I work at the University of Dayton, where I'm at right now, and in the Office of Education Abroad. So I work particularly on faculty-led programs for programs to Europe, Latin America, Asia, et cetera. So yeah, that's kind of my sort of basic profile.
Thanks, Aaron. Joe, Valerie, would you go next?
Yeah, I'm bookend between two Aarons today, so that's a good thing. My name is Joe Fothery, and I'm a second year student in the EPOL program, really focusing on the LDL part, and it's finishing up my second year. I'm also a full-time classroom teacher. This is the end of my 33rd year in public education, so I'm an instructor of creativity and innovation at Effingham High School. Here about an hour and a half south of Urbana-Champaign.
Yeah, not too far at all. And Aaron Mills, would you go next?
Yeah, I'm a fourth year doctorate student in the EDD, online EDD for EPOL of learning, design, and leadership. And I am a little bit further. I'm based in Montevideo, Uruguay. Been here tomorrow. I was telling before everyone came that tomorrow's my 14th year anniversary. And while living here, I've taught in various schools, most recently at the international school, Uruguayan American School, IB History, International Baccalaureate History. And I'm a mother of two. And yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Aaron. And I think I forgot to say who I am. I am Travis Giffen, the Assistant Director of Online Programs. I just wanted to thank everybody again today. And so with that, I have some questions for each of the panelists, and we can just kind of stay in the same order we did for introductions, if that works for everybody. So the first question that I have for the panelists is, what were you doing before your degree program?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and start in saying that I was working here at the University of Dayton in the Office of Education Abroad, and had really just been enjoying sort of the field of international education in particular. And I was really about, what was that, spring 2019, exploring kind of, hey, if I want to do this doctoral thing, now seems like a good time. I was in the right sort of place in life, was able to, and in the right place in life, but then also able to identify Illinois as a really good choice for me from a sort of cost perspective. The price was right for the online piece, and then the synchronous sessions too were really attractive to me as well. And then also them having a real specific global studies concentration. I thought this is really going to be a good match for me, and it really has turned out to be. So For me, it was, working several years in my field and then going, I really would like to get an advanced degree. Now seems like a really great window to do so. And so, yeah, that's what led to it. And I kind of joke that my first semester was in fall 2019, and like I was using Zoom before Zoom was cool. And I remember thinking, like, going home, or not really going home, but like saying the first couple of weeks, like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. You can like take your there's microphones and you can talk to people, and there's breakout rooms, and it's amazing. And now it's sort of commonplace. But yeah, so that's why I started the program and kind of what led up to that and why I decided to ultimately kind of take the dive into it.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, and for me, I've had really an interesting career path. I've been teaching film design for many years. And in the early 2000s, I had the opportunity to start producing stuff professionally. I've had stuff shown on a lot of different national networks at a very large scale. And that led to me being able to take my students, when I'd bring that stuff back to school, I'd fly out on the weekend and do all these really interesting interviews for documentaries. And then I'd come back, and it's a great way to be able to share those experiences with my kids and help them learn how to tell stories. That led to 2007, I was named Illinois Teacher of the Year. And then in 2016, I was named one of the top 10 K-12 teachers in the world. And it gave me an opportunity to be involved in a lot of different things. So in 2007, I helped launch Advance Illinois, which is an educational policy organization with former Chief of Staff Bill Daley of the White House and former Governor Jim Edgar. And then I also helped launch the National Network of State Teachers of the Year out in Washington, D.C. So I would work full-time in the public school setting, and then I would, on the evenings and weekends, really other full-time job, would spend an inordinate amount of time in educational policy and developing a lot of different things like that. And so I'd wanted for a long time to take my storytelling and my policy experiences and do something with them. So I left my job at Enstoy, did a 2.5-year tenure in the United Kingdom, where I helped develop one of the world's first model code of ethics for AI in education. And at that time, that's when the EDD program I founded online at the U of I. And I'm like, boy, this would just be tailor-made for me, because I don't have to drive an hour and a half. I can actually get up there and I can start working with world-class people and learn how to tie a lot of my work into research.
Thank you.
Okay. Before and during my program at the University of Illinois, I was an international baccalaureate history teacher here in Montevideo, Uruguay. I was mother of only one at the time. And actually I was on maternity leave and thinking, what's my next goal? And a doctorate was always on my list of goals to grow professionally. And so I started searching online. I checked out options here as well. There are some doctoral programs here. I used to work at a university here, considered going to work there with some of my coworkers. I thought, that might be the easiest way to go about it. But as I began to search online as well, and the programs at U of I really interested me. And I had contacted a few people that had attended U of I and had done their online masters, and they really convinced me, because I was sort of uneasy about going into online again. And yeah, I took the plunge, and so happy I did.
Thank you for that. With that, I think that kind of actually leads pretty well into the next question. So for each of you, what was your experience in taking online courses before you started this program, the program you're in?
Yeah, so short answer, not much. I, maybe once or twice in undergraduate had an online course that did not have synchronous sessions. So an online course to me meant at that point just asynchronous, independent work, which I feel like people call more correspondence these days almost. But yeah, it wasn't much. And in fact, picking it right up where Erin left off, I was really hesitant about that. Like, oh, I don't know about online. Like, I want to be interacting with people. Like, I don't want to just be in discussion forums all the time with names that, who knows, they could be robots. And so for me, as I mentioned in the first kind of commentary, like the synchronous sessions were big for me. Like that was really appealing, to have a set time each week that I would be logging in, and sort of like as an accountability mechanism, like I loved the idea of that structure. And so that's why I thought, okay, I can kind of justify this like online, new adventure, I guess, and sort of a risk really, by knowing that there is this sort of structure built in where you're getting to see people and interact with them. And that's what I really enjoyed about the Illinois experience, is really getting to do that, and sort of build relationships, whether it's in breakout rooms or just like swapping numbers with students, but you're actually engaging with them in live time. And so for me, that's made all the difference, as the overall sort of experience with an online program. So yeah, so not too much experience before, but I've enjoyed it so far. And it actually is funny because my grandparents, sometimes they'll ask me still, like, they still don't really get it, like the online thing, like, oh, you're going to class tonight, where are you going? And I'm like, my kitchen table. Like, they just like don't get it, which, I mean, how would they? But that kind of speaks to the beauty of it, I think, is that you could, be on a work trip at a hotel, or you could be at your kitchen table or wherever, we're staying at work late, and you have that flexibility from the online perspective. So it really has a lot of perks to it, I would say.
Well, and for me, it was kind of just the opposite. I had taken only one class online as a student. I'd taken a writing class several years ago and really enjoyed having the opportunity to connect with people all over the world. And I thought, there's no way that I'm going to be able to sit in a chair in a traditional classroom and have those experiences and to be able to be pushed back and challenged intellectually like that. And so I thought it was really great. Now, back then, the technology wasn't as robust. Zoom was, and Skype, they weren't really even a thing. And so it was a lot different. But professionally, as an educator, I've built online classes for my students for years because the kids wanted an extension outside of the regular school day. And then we wanted to start connecting with other schools around the planet. So that was a really rich experience, I think, from a designer's perspective, for me to be able to see the inner workings of it and what technology, and to not just get fixed on a certain technology. I mean, Zoom's the thing today, but it won't, I don't think it will be down the road. There'll be something else that replaces it. Blackboard was for a long time, and there are a lot of just different platforms out there, Skype the same way. I think also, where I was fortunate at was I've also been able to work in the private sector as a consultant for a long time, and this is how we communicate. And you go and you have your staff meetings, and you are very collaborative about things, and those conversations may break off into individual Zoom calls or Skype calls or phone calls or in-person visits whenever you can. But for the most part, you get your walking orders as to what you're supposed to go do. And then you've built a culture and you've hired people that the expectation is that you just go do it, that you're not micromanaged, and that the learning is on you. And so honestly, I've been waiting for a long time for this. I don't live close enough to the university to it makes daily trips laborious. And it can be done, but I'm thinking about the 3 hours that I'm spending in a car. It's 3 hours I could be spending on research or writing or interviewing someone. And so to me, I've been waiting for the time to catch up so that we could do this at U of I. And so whenever I saw it, man, I was on like that, because I know what the university has to offer. It's a the resources at the U of I are broad and expansive, and there is a depth to them. And so being able to have the opportunity at anywhere in the world, to think that Erin is in Uruguay right now, I would never be able to connect with her, but because of this, I can, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's in going last is very interesting because there's sort of a mix of I have an answer of what I'm going to say, and then it evolves as I listen to these conversations. Kind of going off of what Erin was saying, definitely I hinted at what happened, my master's, it was asynchronous as well, all asynchronous. I also did undergraduate classes and they were asynchronous. When I worked for the university, I designed their first online courses and they had to be asynchronous. And I thought that was what online meant, asynchronous. And it was very isolating doing my master's experience like that. And it was very isolating as a teacher designing asynchronous courses. And so I was leaning towards doing my doctorate here. I wanted to have that experience. once again, back in the classroom. I love teaching, I love connecting. And I didn't realize that you could, the sort of expanse that Joe's talking about, the capabilities that the U of I has to make it feel like I'm there. And I kept, so often in the first year of my classes, I would capture my screen and send pictures to my coworkers saying, no, I really am in class. This is amazing. And office hours, the teacher has office, the professor has office hours, and they made themselves available so that I could talk to them, doubts. I didn't feel like this major goal that I was taking on was going to be so unattainable because I felt the support system.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's really interesting, the changes in both perspective, and then also the changes that have, the evolution for online programs and classes that they've gone through. So with that a little bit, with online classes, how do you balance your online courses with, all of the other things that you do in your lives, the other responsibilities that you have outside of the classroom, which is where, everyone spends most of their time?
Yeah, so I can start by saying that for me, just from a pragmatic perspective, doing one class per 8-week quarter, essentially, like term, 8-week term is my sort of go-to strategy, just again, pragmatically, to sort of make the experience manageable and meaningful, and not just box checking, but real actual learning and thoughtful space can be given to my schoolwork. So doing only one class, per time is really helpful. I did at one point, it was the first pandemic summer. I was in a class with Erin. We were just talking about that. And I opted to do 2 classes because I was like, well, nothing's going on, so I might as well take a class and make the best of this pandemic. And even doing that in the summer when my work was a lot calmer, was a lot to do 2 classes at once. I was like, never again am I going to do that. That was a little too much. And so just doing that one class is helpful. And I just generally kind of conceptualize my doctoral experience and sort of each passing semester as kind of like a part-time job. Like it's going to take me probably 8 to 10 hours a week that I need to dedicate by the time I do the synchronous session. And then I do, the homework and get the paper ready and get all the logistics. So I sort of just conceptualize it as a part-time job. And then for me, it's other people have part-time jobs too. I just have to make sure I'm setting aside the time, maybe one weekend or one weekend day, a weekend. And so that's kind of helpful for me. And yeah, I found it to be a really manageable experience. And like I said, that structure of having the synchronous classes really helps me because otherwise time just sort of floats away from you. But when I know I have a deadline and due dates and sort of the accountability of looking people in, the face / Zoom squares, that's been really helpful for me in just kind of managing the experience in my time.
Yeah, and I would echo, Aaron, what you're talking about. I work a full-time plus job, and so 2 classes for people who have any type of a job. I think if you're trying to get any depth out of the class, it would be a lot. And that's one of the things I'm really wanting to make sure that I do, is that I'm not rushing through this, that I slow down and I enjoy the experience, and that I get as deepest amount of knowledge out of it as I can, and that I really able to have pour time into it. And so the one class, the 8-week segments are great. But if you take 2 of them at a time, I don't know how you would be able to really do any quality work in that if you're working, because there's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of research, there are a lot of high expectations. I think that when online learning came out, that was one of the concerns that, we'll drop the bar. Well, the University of Illinois has not done that. The expectations, I think, are still very, very, very high. And that's one of the reasons I really like it. I think the other thing is I like the fact in the LDL program, how everything's laid out. I'm very fortunate to have people like, Kara that I can get a hold of at a moment's notice and talk through things. And so I'm constantly planning and reevaluating my plan. The other thing that I've done that may be a little bit different than some other people is I'm not a rush to take them in the summer. And I know some people do, and that's what works for them. But for me in the summer, that's actually where I'm trying to look ahead a little bit and do a little bit more deeper research as to where I want to go. I want to, you know, by the time I get there and I have my research question, I really want to help, you know, find out if that's where I really want to be at. And I know I got to let the research do all the talking, but I kind of have to have an avenue to go down. And so I'm spending my summers doing a lot of reading and a lot of talking to people and a lot of learning to help out like that. But, you know, the flexibility of the program, I do like the asynchronous class, but then the rest of the week, I get to set my schedule to what I want it to be around the rest of my work. And then kind of like Aaron, I block out specific times for this is when I'm going to write. This is specific times I'm going to read and do things like that. And then because it's an online program, I feel like as long as I've got a cell phone and a laptop, I can be behind my desk or on a mountaintop. It really doesn't matter. But I'm still going to be challenged equally. And then it's up to me to be able to do the work there on the spot.
I compartmentalize my day. So I'm at work. When I come home from at work, I'm mom. And then when the kids go to bed, I don't think and try to do anything else in those slots. You know, I'm at work, I grade students' work, I meet with students, and then, and it's very hard as a teacher, but, you know, sometimes then I end up pushing, if I have too much to grade, I'll push that to Sunday. And then as a mom, of course, you try to compartmentalize them, but they might wake up at 2 a.m. when you're trying to get your sleep. But the best thing that I did was to say, okay, I'm going to compartmentalize my day. I work, and when I'm at home with my kids, I cannot think about anything else. So then I put them to bed. Now, when I'm putting the bed, sometimes I have my phone out and I'm reading my PDFs. And, you know, this is the thing you got to do when you're wearing several hats. And then once they go to bed, get them to bed early so that you have, you know, from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. to do your classes or write or grade papers, because you don't always have to do, you know, you have various nights in the week where you say, okay, I'm going to write, or I'm going to take class, or I'm going to read these PDFs, or I'm going to grade for school, you know, and then that does give you one day of the week in the end, because like Aaron said, I did have to dedicate a weekend to sort of, I don't know, plan for class or read the PDF, and that gave me those Sunday where I could rest. I have taken my time though with this doctorate. That's another thing I had to sort of to balance my responsibilities, because a second one came along. When there's two, it's definitely not as easy as one. Plus the second one was not as calm as the first one. And so I had to sort of let go of this control sense that I have, and just, you know, if I could only take one class during the semester, I can only take one class during the semester. But say, okay, I'm gonna sort of like Joe, I'm gonna research and I'm gonna do the things, because when you're in class too, you know, people often mention, oh, this is a great article, or you get an idea, and so you need that time too. It is a process for sure, and balance is work to balance.
Thank you for that. Yeah, you know, having some sort of schedule and trying to figure out what that is, and understanding that, you know, everything has, you know, everybody has different priorities that they all have to manage throughout the time is helpful. And, you know, it sounds like, you know, all of you agreed that having some sort of schedule to help, you know, track that and make time for your different aspects of your lives has been helpful. That's something, you know, that I found helpful before in programs and classes also. So, and this might build off of what you've already shared, but if you were to pick a skill or a habit that had been most helpful to you in your online classes, what would it be?
So Travis, you handed these questions off to me before this session, and this was my most, I was really looking forward to answering this question, because I feel strongly about it. And I think the sort of, I guess, adjective or thing I think is most important is really being, I guess, kind of intentionally assertive in sort of putting your face in front of people, whether that's in synchronous sessions, like for students, like keeping their cameras on if they're able to, answering questions, you know, typing up, talking in your breakout groups, in classes. I mean, just reaching out to faculty, just saying, hey, I'm Erin, you know, I'm in your class. I kind of like your research area, like just booking a virtual office hours, like taking advantage of opportunities when you can go to campus. So next Friday, for example, there's a graduate student conference at the College of Education on campus, and I intend to go. And the last time I went actually was in March 2020, right before the pandemic, where I remember like sort of weirdly like joking with someone about like elbow bumping. Like, I guess we're supposed to be elbow bumping now. There's this virus that's happening, and here we are. And so, like, just really taking advantage of opportunities to know people and be really like relational, because I think you have to, if you don't make an effort to do that, especially in an online program, you will be a Zoom square somewhere in cyberspace. Like, I mean, and it's for me that at least that's like how I view it. Like, that's really important to me, that I'm like in relationship with people. My kind of philosophy is that kind of the old opportunity cost economics concept, like there's like, what am I not doing because I'm doing this, you know, the Illinois program. And there are many things, as I'm sure, you know, anybody would tell you if you're taking on this part-time job for 4 to 5 years. So to me, my philosophy is kind of like, I'm already taking time to do this. I might as well pour myself into it and really make the most of it and make relationships and just squeeze every bit of like the citrus, you know, out of the experience. Because I'm here and I'm doing it. So to me, that's been really important. And the relationships with the faculty and the staff, my initial advisor when I was here, and then also my like faculty advisor and some other professors, like building that rapport has been really great. And it makes it feel human too. It doesn't feel, you know, as Erin was mentioning before, like the correspondence, or it doesn't feel as isolating when you make those connections. And I have a number of people in my WhatsApp app who are my fellow classmates. We have never met in person, but we're like, you know, WhatsApp all the time, or we'll like complain about something, or be like, oh my God, did you see this? This is great. So I feel like it is sort of a funny reality as you first get into it, but then you're like, this is like pretty normal, and it's kind of great. And the pandemic has kind of accelerated some of that in some ways too. So I think just being intentionally assertive and putting your face in front of people is, you're going to get what is that phrase? You're going to get what you put into something. And so that's just my philosophy and approach, and it's been really rewarding in that sense.
And I would add on to that, I really think that, especially in the doctoral program, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you really need to sit back and think about, you know, I'm at one of the premier learning institutions in the country. It has incredible resources in terms of just the research that's been done, the staff that's there and the work that they're doing, the students. I mean, I just been amazed by the stories that some of the students and the work they do. And you need to take advantage of that. And to do that, it takes time. And it also takes you going and finding those opportunities. And like Erin talking about, being brave. You know, that's what you have to do. You have to put yourself out there a little bit. And I've yet to find a person that I've reached out to that wasn't okay with me doing it. You know, they might have not had as much time as the other person, but I think they were impressed that, you know, I was interested and they wanted to tell their story. And so I try to take as much advantage of that as I can. I think the other thing that we have to watch is, you know, being afraid to ask for help. I think especially on the online space, a lot of the programs use different platforms, and, you know, they have different way of doing things. You just got to ask for help. I will say in our program, the TAs and the staff have just been extraordinary. And it's just ridiculous for me to sit there and wonder why this button isn't working when I can just email one of the TAs, and within minutes, I usually get an answer back. And they're like, that's what I'm here for, Joe. Don't be afraid. And so to me, that's one of the things is you've got to really advocate for yourself. But, you know, I'm not sure there's any difference between that and a traditional program in a chair. You got to advocate for yourself there too. And you could go through any major university in the country and sit in a chair in a master's or doctoral program and just do the curriculum. And then if that's all you're going to get out of it, if you're not going to go out and really seek those other rich experiences. And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, I met Erin accidentally online 2 years ago, and she just in passing helped me get started on the right foot on some things. And I've tried to pass that on to other people. So it's just kind of serendipity today that I've had a chance to catch up with her. But that's what I would really say is, you know, everybody that goes is smart. Everybody that goes has big dreams and aspirations, but advocate for those dreams. The best way to make them a reality is build the scaffolding to get there.
So I had a different skill that I had written down, and it's probably the not skill, I would say habit. It's probably the most novel habit, but it has helped me, and that was to make to-do lists because I would have to write down make two responses to someone's post, and I would write one response and another response because you're required to make two responses, and then you have to make your own post. So then just being able to kind of cross that off, it allowed me to pat myself on my back, because your workload does grow and you can feel demotivated at times, and so to know that physically see that it's getting done was helpful. I want to sort of add on to what Aaron and Joe have said, though, that I learned that skill late, and I was quite demotivated. But then I reached out to Dr. Kalansis, who then connected me to Kara, and it has been awesome. It was a turnaround. I wish I had known that earlier on. I guess I knew it, but when you're balancing so many hats, and this is online, even though you do feel that presence and you do feel you're in class, your responsibilities as a working professional and as a mom, it begins to get difficult to prioritize and to balance it all. And so, you tend to sort of become a Zoom square. But then if you do practice what Aaron and Joe are talking about, then it actually is a lot easier, because people like Kara help you along the way and give you the support you need, and it isn't so hard anymore.
Thank you all for that input. It's always good to hear what strategies have worked for others in the classroom and throughout their experience. At this point in time, gonna open things up for Q&A. Because of the size, probably won't do breakout groups, but because of that, if you have a question, could you say your name and then share your program or a little bit about yourself and then get to your question? It'd be good to be able to hear from everybody, at least. So give everybody a minute or so to think of any questions they might have for our panelists today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mingshu Zhang. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine.
Yeah, hi. So is it for current students or is it for potential students?
And potential student questions could be great also.
Okay, because I'm thinking about, I'm interested in this online program. So, I want to get this educator licensure. And then so I called the Department of Education, and they told me that I should first get a master's degree in education in order to do that. So that's why. So for my case, because I haven't decided, because I look up on the website, said you need to pick it's a first grade to in elementary school, next 12th grade. Do I need to make that decision now at the beginning of the program? I can do it after I enroll and then make that decision.
So for that question, I don't think I have the answer for it right away. What I would do with that question, though, I will send you into the chat the email address, and you should email us at grad services and we can get that answered for you correctly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. James, I see that you were unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to get the sound on my laptop with the headphones, but I wasn't able to do it. Yeah, I was only able to be over a couple minutes, but man, that was like the things that you guys are talking about is my experience. Like this is I just started the program, and it's really helpful to hear that those struggles were across the board, and finding out I guess kind of those lessons early on is one thing I'm taking away right away, to be brave and to, put your face in front of people. And again, I did want to just, like, Kara, for me, like, as soon as I met Kara, like, it's like, all right, like, this is somebody, like, like, I'll be like, she's just so helpful, and I knew I was gonna make it kind of once I met her. One of the questions I had was, I guess, like, the to-do list. That was one thing, like, that's something that I'm like right away just realizing, how much I need to manage my time, and I think Aaron was talking about that. So I guess, like, just, like, kind of what was the, like, kind of how do you structure your to-do list? Like it is just kind of it's just a new experience for me. It's just so many things to try to kind of compartmentalizing the things like work and in school. That's another tip that I took away. But I don't know if there's any other just general structure ideas on the to-do list.
Something else that do you mind if I answer that question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that something else that another professor told me was to keep a notebook by my bed. And so anytime I had ideas, to also write it down. I have 5 different notebooks and I filled them all up. But it's awesome because when I go back, I see some of the ways that my ideas have evolved. And I realize that there are so many linkages between where I'm at now, because, I'm in my special field exam. And so I keep one of the sort of mantras in the LDL is to let go of your research questions. And I have, as you go into let the literature do the talking for you. And it's funny though, because that thought process doesn't, it's always back there and in your mind. And so the notebooks are a physical record of everything that I've sort of thought about during this career or during this doctoral program. So that was something else. Maybe that's not the structural thing. The to-do lists, definitely. And I am not going to lie, I have sacrificed a lot of sleep, but I would say that is also an individual sort of thing. I have sacrificed sleep because I am a perfectionist and I don't know how to just turn it in or just let it go. And that's one thing. That's one. And then I don't think I am as prepared as some of my classmates. I know I have a master's. I know I've taught at university, but you're in these classes with Joe, you're amazing. Aaron, you're amazing. I think about your backgrounds. And so my own sort of self-efficacy starts to invade my thought process. And I don't think my work is as good. But you're great. You're great. The reason another professor told me you would not have been accepted into this program if you weren't great. And so that sort of keeps me going, and I turn my work in, and I'm proud and I'm happy. And all of this is an accomplishment wherever you're at in your life. And everyone just deserves to pat themselves on the back, whatever you've done. So
Well, I would jump in on that too. I think one of the things you need to understand, I think all of us need to understand, is that everyone in this program has value because everyone has perspective. And, Aaron, you come from a place that I don't live, and there are so many things that I could learn from what you do and what you bring to the table. And that's what I love about this online space, is that I get people from literally all over the world. One of my last classes, I was in a group with a lady that was, she was up 1 o'clock in the morning talking to our group from Ireland. And I mean, where else would you get this at? And I think, one of the things I learned a long time ago, I teach in my creativity and innovation class, is that one of the best ways to step forward is to fail. And so perfection, and I'm a perfectionist too, but I understand that I'm never going to obtain perfection. And so I just bring my best. And that's what I think people try to do. And that's all you can do. And so in terms of putting your, I guess, schedule and things together, some stuff that's really helped me out was, especially in the LDL program. And Aaron, I don't know if you did this or not, but I love the PDF things for like the classes. You can just you got the checklist, and I go through every one of those, and that helps me map out my, okay, this is what I'm going to do over the next few weeks. So that's awesome. And then I also I'm a huge Google Calendar fanatic, and I have color coded all of my stuff for my classes. I color code my work, and then I set reminders to come to myself. Okay, hey Joe, just remember tonight you're going to sit down and read these, 4 research studies, and then tomorrow night you're going to do this. And the other piece I really think you need to consider, because this was hard for me, was take time out and make sure you take care of yourself. And I know that's easy to say and hard to do in a world that goes 100 miles an hour, especially in COVID. But if you're not physically healthy and mentally healthy, then you can't be research healthy. And I think that's important. And sometimes if you don't have your professor there reminding you of that all the time, it gets easy to do. And so I actually block out time in my schedule to cycle and to lift and to run and work out, because I honestly find out that's when some of my best reflection takes place, is when I'm on a cycle. Because I'm, all the rest of the work days aside, and I'm just on the bike and I'm doing stuff, and it might actually take some stress away that would help you do stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm sure all 3 of our scheduling looks different. And so I've worked out my system that works for Joe, but I'm sure Aaron and Aaron have their own. But, and I would talk to Kara and some other people like that, because she's got a wealth of knowledge, and she knows how a lot of us have worked through things. And she might be able to give you some examples of some people that you could look at and, really replicate some of their work.
I would just add, not that I'm an LDL, but like just going right off what Joe was saying about like Kara in the case of the LDL group, like the whole idea of just find your person or your persons, and those are your people, when you're in this kind of situation with online or just going through the program in general. I feel like for me, for example, that was a previous online advisor named Sharon Lee, for example. So I knew like every advising season, it was not required that as a student that I make an appointment with her to like go over my classes, but I was like, I'm going to, again, just so she sees my face, we have a relationship. And so like, for instance, and I got so many valuable insights. Like I would think I had it together. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be perfect, and this is how it's all going to work. And I got all of like this 5-year plan. And then she'd be like, oh, but that actually is not offered in like fall A or fall B, or so then I'd rearrange things, or she'd give me insights. And so just kind of knowing or identifying like, who's your person? Who's that person you can go to, who's going to be a good resource? And then second thing I would say that's completely unrelated to that, when it comes to courses, and this isn't necessarily like an organizational tactic, but another insight that I got from my person, Sharon, which was when you're going through the classes, and tell me if I'm misspeaking, Joe or Aaron, if this is different for LDL, but like I always took every like final paper or research paper I did, and I had it towards it was moving me towards the goal of the ultimate dissertation. So like I'd ask, and even the course selection, like I had asked Sharon at some point, like, hey, should I just like take a class and like LDL or HR development or something? It seems interesting and I'm here to learn, yay. And she was like, you could, but really there's a goal with a doctoral program. You are trying to get to the finish line to get a dissertation completed. And so I heeded that advice, and it has been such great advice. And it's also kept me on track in the classes, because I know that I'm moving towards something, and it's not some just one-off paper that I'm doing on a topic that's, flavor of the month topic that seems interesting to me, which is really most all topics. But it was moving me towards something. And I'm finding now, having just finished my general and special field and moving into the proposal phase, that every little paper I did was so helpful, and it kept me motivated along the way. So just 2 insights there that I've kind of had.
I was just going to say that early on, James, Dr. Pack was very helpful. And she was actually the one who told me, I had mentioned it in an email. I think she noted my tone, but she was always willing to meet with me. I wrote something in an email, like, I'm just worried because I don't think I've got this right and I'm not doing it well. And she says, just stop right there. Whatever you're doing is great. You're amazing, and so that she was awesome. And is awesome.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for the question, James.
Hi, I'm Allison. I am a first-year student in Global Studies in the EDD program. So Erin, I had a question for you in terms, well, both Erins, thank you. It's all of you guys have been wonderful. Erin Mills, from the perspective of a mom, I have 2 little ones under 5. So it's been kind of motivating and a reminder of other people have to wait till their kids go to bed to do work as well. And Erin, number 2, because you're in my area and I'm been a background as working in foreign languages. I'm home right now with my 2 little ones. But I did a lot with education abroad, so I'm transitioning or looking toward transitioning into that in higher education. So in particular, I was curious in that concentration area of global studies, are there any professors or courses you would really recommend taking that have been positive experiences, or professors to connect with?
Yeah, no, definitely. Within global studies as a concentration, there interestingly is this sub-concentration, IEAL, I believe, International Education Admin and Leadership. I should know this. Travis is
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Glad you're on camera. Good. And so I declared that like after my first year, because Dr. Allison Witt is the like your automatic advisor, essentially, when you have that designation on your student record. And I was like, I love Dr. Witt. We get along really well. I want her to be my advisor. And plus that's kind of just concentration in the area I wanted to go anyway. So perhaps like declaring that concentration, exploring it, and then meeting with Dr. Witt. She's really fantastic. She has a really interesting role in that she's a faculty member who advises lots of students and teaches, but then she's also the director of the international programs within the college. So she does education abroad, like, general, management of programs through the College of Ed. And so she has this really like unique perspective of like faculty member, but yet practitioner. And so she would definitely be someone to talk to. And yeah, I mean, she's really the education abroad person. So I'm happy to connect you or like give you her contact information. But she's a fabulous advisor. I just had a meeting with her on Tuesday and we just like have like a really great time. She's like really casual and fun. And
I talked with her when I was coming into the program, but I actually do not have her as my advisor. I have that as my concentration area, but I have Dr. Kong as my advisor.
okay.
So I think that they've maybe opened it up a little bit, but that's great. I've been wanting to connect because I honestly thought going in that's probably who it would be, and really thought she was useful, like provide a lot of useful information. So
yeah, and she does have a course like higher ed and internationalization. I think it's what it's called. I took it fall A of last year, and so I think she offers it like every fall or once every 2 years or something like that. But she's really, really great. And I think graduate students don't like quote me, but I'm pretty sure like we're able to participate in the education abroad programs when there's not a global pandemic and they're happening. So that's something to look into as well. I think you can actually use like some of your electives or something to count towards.
I think that's my understanding as well. So I'm hoping they'll start them back up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So actually on that topic, Allison, Dr. Witt has 2 upcoming study abroad webinars if you're interested in any of those information. And I have the link here. I'll share it in the chat. I know there's communications going out about this and will be going out about this also.
I don't know if I just wanted to chime in. I was in diversity and equity, and then I switched to learning design and leadership. Dr. Pack was my advisor. Loved her, but I realized that my dissertation and my interests were more in line with the learning design and leadership program, and so I switched advisors. So if you find that she is more in line with sort of the research that you want to go to, it is a possibility. And Dr. Peck knew, the questions I have, they're about literacy, digital literacy, and that is Dr. Colance's field. Dr. Cope, they write a lot about that. And so I wanted to be in with that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. That's great advice. It's good to know.
Well, and I also wanted to jump in on that real quick too, because if you have an elective, I really like the way the LDL program classes are set up, where you kind of, if it's new media and technology, there are things they want you to go through and study, and there's a process for it. But you can also bring in, if you're interested in linguistics, you could spend that whole class doing a deep dive on that. And then you have the expertise of Dr. Cope and Dr. Colancis. And so I don't know how much you've been studying on artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact the world of linguistics, but it's going to have dramatic effect over the next few years. And so this might be a way for you to talk to people that are developing systems like that and really be able to do a deep dive and get ahead of some of the work that's actually being built right now.
Thank you guys so much. That's great.
This is not 100% related, but Joe, what he was just saying reminded me of it too. Like just in terms of the faculty, there are a number of times where I've been reading articles and I will go to the works cited at the end and references and go, I know that name. They're at Illinois. And it's like Dr. Burbulis, for example, or even Dr. Anderson, the dean. I remember watching a documentary in Dr. Pock's class where he was in the documentary. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like these are some really, they're a really big deal. So I just feel like that's like been an interesting experience for me too, having never gone to like an R1 Big Ten like research school. I'm like, wow, these people are really leading the charge in their like, special area of research. So that's been kind of just like a humbling, like interesting new experience for me as well.
And they're all so approachable, and they're all so awesome.
They're real, they're nice, they talk to you.
Allison, if you have real interests that you're really wanting to explore, I'd do a search, and I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to some of these professors and, read a little bit about them. And almost every one of them that I've reached out to has been willing to sit down and talk to me, or at least exchange email on things. And I'm not sure you get that at every university. And so it's been very comforting for me that I've got a broad spectrum of interest, and everybody that I've reached out to so far has been like, yeah, hey, try looking at this, do these things. And so I think I would encourage somebody in their first year, don't feel like you got to wait till your second or third or fourth year to do that.
It's been really encouraging because there are people I think about reaching out to and think, well, I'm a first year, I don't really know what direction I'm headed in completely. So that's great to know that everyone's been really positive and willing to interact. Thank you.
And I would pair that just as a quick follow-up to that, like sometimes connecting all of our ideas we've talked about, yes, 100% to what Joe says, but up to the other point too about like being your own best advocate. Sometimes it's like, I am going to write to that faculty member and maybe I haven't heard back like in a week. I'm going to nudge and follow up. And so just like doing that and being like, hey, I want to come, or like I'm coming to campus, like, can I meet with you? And just sort of keep putting yourself out there. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the wisdom of life. Like you put yourself out there, like, what's the worst people can say? No, like, so just taking the plunge and doing that, knowing that the faculty are quite busy. So I guess I want to say like, it's a combination of like, they're really willing and they're, friendly and wonderful, but certainly taking advantage too when they have virtual like office hours listed in their signature, like, yep, click, it's on the calendar, here's the Zoom link. That can also be really helpful too. So it's just sort of like finding like your space and knowing, again, who are your people? Who do you have that rapport with where you go, they know me, they're going to respond. We've built this rapport, but then also like, advocating where you need to for yourself.
Thanks for all those responses. Just to make sure everybody has time to get to the next things that they have to do for the rest of the day. Just wanted to thank everybody for coming. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you for your time. Thank you to students who chose to participate, and prospective students also. Very much appreciate you all coming. I wanted to let everybody know March 24th, we will have an alumni panel from 5 to 6 p.m. CST. I've sent a link in the chat to that. We also are collecting student feedback on career services information. So I just wanted to share the link to that in the chat as well. If you haven't already completed that survey, really looking forward to student input from there. And then just to let everybody know, if you're interested in the instructional design master track, that deadline for the next term is February 28th. And then for the EDM, April 15th is the summer term A deadline, and May 15th is the summer term B deadline. And then if anybody is looking for the EDD deadline for fall 2022 applications are April 15th. I think I got through everything there that I need to. Again, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can email me at tgiffen@illinois.edu, and happy to stay in touch. We also have, I'm going to be starting a student job search support group information. So communications will be going out about that. hopefully I'll have confirmed dates and everything like that next week, and an email will be going out. So stay tuned for that also. But thank you again for everybody attending today. Really appreciate your time and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Great, thanks, Travis.
Thanks,
Take care,
Travis.
everyone.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you again.
Hey,
Thanks, Travis.
will you by chance be around the building on like next Friday? Or are you guys
Me?
all still remote? Yeah, I thought I might come in. I was gonna say hi to Sharon, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll see Travis and Sangeeta.
So I think we're both out. I think we're both working from home next Friday. But if there's a
Okay.
time you're gonna be here though, let me know. I live like 5 minutes away. I'd be happy to come up and say hey.
Yeah.
The only meeting that I have currently, you said next Friday?
Yeah, March 4th. It's the
March 4th?
Graduate Student Conference Day, and
Okay,
no need if you're like, I'm comfy in my pajamas at home. I get that, so no worries. But I thought, oh, if they're there, I might just like say hi. Like I'm a real person. I have legs.
yeah, no,
feet
it'd be nice
here.
to actually see you in person. My only meeting that I have so far is 9:30 to 10:30.
Oh,
So
nice.
just shoot me a message, let me know what time you're here, and I'll block some time and come up and say hey.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think they're kind of doing the old what is that, supply chain philosophy, just in time production.
Sure.
I think the grad conference people are like just in time production folks. So I just found out like yesterday that I even got accepted. So I don't
Okay.
really know the time yet of like when my presentation
Sure.
is, but once I like figure it out, I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Travis.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.